Hey folks, this is Vic here, and today we're going to be reviewing Disturbing Behavior. We'll get to that in just a moment. Want to make a quick announcement first. This coming Monday, October 17th, we're going to actually have a special edition of the podcast for Halloween Ends, but it's only going to be on YouTube. So it'll be only on the YouTube platform. Of course, we're under the Movie Fellas on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please go there and subscribe, and it'll be a YouTube exclusive podcast for Halloween Ends, and you'll get all our quick thoughts. Me and Nick are going to watch the movie over the weekend and see if we love it or if we hate it, and there might be some ranting indeed. So please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can enjoy that episode. And now let's get to Disturbing Behavior.
So, Vic, have you ever felt like you had a friend with disturbing behaviors?
Yes, absolutely. And I never knew what was wrong with them, but now I think that maybe there was some evil doctor in town who had brainwashed them and turned them into a member of the Blue Ribbons. That could have
Oh, I thought it
happened.
was because I just thought you had a friend that just drunk Mountain Dew like fucking in no tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I was talking about you, so.
Oh, okay.
Make no
Well,
mistake. So.
I've never ran into an evil doctor that implanted anything in me, but maybe that's the reason I'm drinking Mountain Dew. Maybe he implanted dew flavoring in my blood.
Listen, folks, let me give you some background. Supposedly, Nick Arcana moved away for some kind of job. Supposedly, that's the cover story. The truth is, things got too hot here for the Blue Ribbons, and he had to move somewhere to corrupt a new town, and now he's moved somewhere else to continue the Blue Ribbons tradition in a different area. That's what I'm saying. I
Oh,
mean, it's a cool cover story, but like, yeah, got a job, got to go there. No, Blue Ribbons, I say, Blue Ribbons.
trust me. I corrupt everybody already.
Now, his version of Blue Ribbons, though, it's not to make them better students or make them more polite. It's simply to get them addicted to Mountain Dew.
Yeah, because Dew needs to stay open forever, and the way to do that is to make sure they continue getting money.
That's actually a brilliant reasoning behind the whole thing. Is like, hey, we got to make sure as many people buy Mountain Dew as possible, so they'll keep producing Mountain Dew. If there's a shortage, then that the whole thing's in jeopardy. So that makes sense.
Exactly.
You know, I thought I was making up a story, but now this actually is making too much sense. Maybe this shit is real.
And we're not called the Blue Ribbons, by the way. We're actually called the Purple Dew.
The Purple Dew.
The Purple Dew. Reason why is because purple is actually the color of royalty, and Dew because, well, it's Mountain Dew.
Is there actually a Purple Mountain Dew?
Not. I don't think it was purple. It still looked black, but it was called pitch black, and it was grape flavored.
Mmm. Gotcha. Interesting. Um, when I do partake, I do like the Blue Mountain Dew and the Red Mountain Dew, and the regular Mountain Dew is actually pretty solid also.
Red is the best one ever.
Code Red, is it?
Yes.
I'm calling Code Red on this conversation. Let's talk about our movie today, Disturbing Behavior, which,
Apparently these cops really like this team of football players because once this guy kills another cop, old man cop lets him go away.
yeah, so immediately we're alert to the idea that something weird is going on because, hey, that's not typical cop behavior. Usually the cops would maybe shoot him, but not the guy himself wouldn't shoot the cop. So that was very weird. And then the other cop is just like, hey, we're going to cover this up, buddy. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
that football players have certain clout in small towns, but getting away with murder and then killing a cop, this seems a bit extreme.
What the fuck is clout?
Clout is basically where you have some kind of power or control. So like when you're a star football player in a small town, you do get treated like a hero. You get treated with certain benefits. You have clout basically. You can demand certain things. But this is still over the top even for that.
Anyway, so Steve and family are moving to Cradle Bay.
You know, I once thought about moving to Cradle Bay, but I'm scared of water. So the fact they had to take a boat to get there, that's a non-starter for me. So
Yeah, well then don't do that.
I don't want to do that. I'm not getting on that. I'm not getting on the boat that goes to supposedly Manhattan because Jason might be on there. And I'm not boarding the Titanic because that might hit an iceberg and sink. Thank you very
So
much.
here's a question. If if I ever won the lottery
Yes.
and I bought a boat,
Yes.
And then I decided, let's do a podcast episode while swaying in the waves of the boat, and we talk about Jaws.
Hmm. So wait, what are you asking?
I'm saying if I ever get a boat, we should do a podcast on the boat. Well, and that podcast episode will be Jaws.
Yeah, that's fine, but in the middle of the podcast, when the shark bites into the boat and bites my leg off and takes me in the water
Well,
and I can't swim, and you
well,
just
then
you
it,
stay on the boat and laugh at me, I don't think that's really the way to go. So,
well, then they can hear us have the climax of Jaws. They won't. We don't have to describe any of it because they'll hear it.
well, anyways, we're not gonna get me on a boat anytime soon. But what I will agree to do is to fill up my bathtub and lay in the bathtub because that's the closest thing I can do to laying in a body of water is laying in my bathtub. Just to swing it back one quick second, the movie was released in 1998 from MGM and estimated budget of $15 million with a gross of only $17 million. So unfortunately, this was not to be a franchise. Marketed very wrong. When I was a teenager, I remember this movie and I remember being marketed as like a straight horror film, but as we're going to find out, there's really not too much horror in it. It's definitely skews more sci-fi. Um, Now, Nick, had you seen the movie before? Or was this your first time watching it?
My first time watching it, I didn't know who James Marsden is that I know of. I
Really?
didn't know. I didn't know the actor that plays Gavin that I know of. I probably have seen him in many other things, but not really putting them to faces. I
James
do know
Marsden's
the
like
actor that.
James Marsden's like a really famous actor. He's the main character. He's the main guy in Sonic the Hedgehog. He's Cyclops in the X-Men movies. Like, he's a really big actor.
Well, I know Cyclops. I watched the X-Men movies, but there is one actor I know in this.
Hmm.
The actor that plays Chuck, AJ Buckley.
Don't tell me.
He
I
plays
know where you're going with this. And
plays in a few
I'm already
episodes
annoyed. I'm already annoyed. Don't do it. Don't say it. Spare me, please. Don't say it.
of Supernatural. He's a ghost facer.
By the way, this is not planned out. It just happens to be that every movie I pick happens to have a damn supernatural actor by coincidence. It's not by design. It just happens to be that way because you know why? Because when a show goes for 35 seasons, of course every actor in the history of movies is going to have made a guest appearance. It's not my fault.
I hadn't. What's bad is I didn't actually recognize him. I just decided to look up just to fuck with you which actors in this show has played in this movie has played in Supernatural.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a straight Google search, so I got you.
Then his name was the only one that popped up, so it makes you feel better.
It doesn't. I feel terrible. um, I recognize a couple actors here. You know, the little sister is Catherine Isabel. So she would go on
Yes.
to be in the Ginger Snap movies, of course, Freddy vs. Jason, American Mary. So she's like kind of a mini scream queen, I would say. She's considered pretty big in the horror genre.
Who played Rachel again? I forgot. Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, yeah. So Katie Holmes, I used to watch Dawson's Creek when I was a teen. She was on that show, and then of course, she was famously married to Tom Cruise, and then she was also in one of the Batman movies. And then and Nick Stahl is from he's also in Terminator 3. The guy plays Gavin. He's in Terminator
Well,
3. So all
to
the
be
actors
fair,
all the actors are pretty well known, to be honest.
to be fair, you said Terminator 3. How many people really remember that damn movie?
A lot of people remember Terminator 3.
You sure about that?
It's actually not bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great movie, but it's a fun movie. But my point is that at this point in time, they basically were getting, just like The Faculty, they were casting, young, relatively well-known teen actors in all these horror movies and sci-fi movies. I mean, of course, you really can't beat the cast of Faculty, though. Faculty had an amazing cast, but this is a pretty good cast for this movie. Now, the problem, as we're going to find out, well, let me just call attention to one thing. The runtime of this movie is an hour and 24 minutes. Okay, so anyways, we have James Marsden playing Steve Clark, and then, of course, his little sister is Lindsay Clark, and they and their parents, for mysteriously unknown reasons, are moving to Cradle Bay,
From Chicago.
which seems like a big step down. I mean, Chicago has great pizza. What does Cradle Bay have?
Cradle Bay has that nice atmosphere of loneliness
Yeah, I mean, I don't
and a
know.
yogurt shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they call it a yogurt shoppy. Or yogurt was it yogurt shoppy or yogurt something?
It's yogurt. I think it's technically pronounced shope
Yogurt
when
shop.
it's spelled like that, but I don't know because I know Gavin makes that joke in this. It's
Yeah.
like, what is this? A shop? It actually spells shope shoppy out there.
Shoppy, yeah. Um
Gavin's a. I will say this. Gavin's a pretty fun character. He's pretty funny, and of course, he's the one character that knows what's going on, but no one wants to listen to him.
well he's the best character easily, but that ends up hurting the movie because the plot demands that he kind of checks out halfway through the movie. And
Well, if he doesn't, then
that makes the second half. So even though it's necessary for the plot, it makes the second half of the movie not as fun because we don't have him around as Gavin. We have him as Blue Ribbons Gavin, which is just a whole robotic performance at that point. Then, so we'll talk about it because that's one of my main complaints about the movie is pretty much the second half. There's certain movies that I the setup in the first half, the story's so good, and then the second half doesn't really pay off on it. Jeepers Creepers is a good example where the first half of that movie was amazing. All these,
and then the fucking police station.
yeah. Then once you see the creeper, it's pretty much it's game over for that movie. This movie,
So
the early scenes are all very interesting to me because you start to see things like, for example, the one character, what's his face, Dickie, right? So Dickie, of
Yeah.
course, is a rebellious car-loving teen, and actually,
Then he gets turned.
yeah, but he actually gets in a fight with the Blue Ribbons first, and then we see them pretty much jump him, and then he's transformed. So early on, not knowing what the plot is, you're kind of you're thinking of the faculty. You're
I'm
like,
thinking
well,
they're vampires.
see, my first thing was aliens, but I mean, I guess vampires kind of sort of make sense.
So
You know,
vampires that wear sunblock during the day so they don't burn alive. You know, the usual.
yeah.
That's the thing, right?
No, well, maybe I don't know. Potentially. Um,
I just want to know one thing. Why we've seen throughout this movie actually that these blue ribbon guys, especially when they get activated, they actually get some super strength on them. Why the hell do they have to then jump everybody like they're little pansy ass bitches?
it's funny because the super strength is it just adrenaline basically? It's not like they actually get stronger. It's just literally they're more focused and they have more adrenaline going on, so they can do more.
Don't get stronger. Chuck literally tosses a guy all the way through a shopping mall.
That's adrenaline, baby.
So you're telling me with adrenaline, I can pick someone up and chuck him at least what? Close enough to be a damn football field?
Yeah, man. Look, get enough Mountain Dew in you, man. Who knows what can happen, all right? Um, my point
Mountain
is,
Dew calms me down. It doesn't anger me.
my point is, there's no reason physically why they would be stronger. They're not taking steroids, I don't think. So, oh, maybe who they are, who knows? But
Well, I mean,
there's
look at
nothing-
Andy.
there's
He
nothing-
has to be.
there's nothing supernatural here, so there's no way they would suddenly get stronger. It doesn't make sense.
The reason I say this is look at Andy. He has to be. While the girl's going down on him, he breaks her neck. She most likely bit him and he didn't feel pain.
No, I think it was so sudden that she did not bite him. That came out of nowhere. It was a very quick maneuver. He basically did some Jason Bourne shit and made a clean, quick break of the neck. So
Nah, the human body usually clenches up when it dies, no matter how quick or clean it is.
yeah, but well, okay, well, either way, we're being super nitpicky now. So I don't know.
Well, here's my next conversation then. Steve, I definitely connect to Steve for one major reason. He likes beautiful bad girls.
Talking about Rachel.
Yes.
I'm interested in the idea of Rachel because you know that this is probably tough casting because they're trying to tell us basically that she is like Gavin calls her something trash basically. I guess Cradle Bay trash, something like that. I don't know what he says.
Cradle Bay trash.
Um,
And be honest, I think Gavin technically goes in with that part as well, just because they're the two out of the three characters that are goth in this whole area, or the technical badass metalhead kids.
well, what about also Gavin's friend? What's his name?
UV.
Yeah, what is UV goth or is he just weird? What is he exactly? I don't understand what's going
So
on.
UV is, you can definitely tell he's albino. There's no way he puts on that much damn makeup to make himself look that white. Also, he's a high on drugs almost all the damn time,
Yeah, he is. I mean,
and for the most part, he is, I would say, goth, but more along the lines of just because his friends are.
yeah.
He seems like the type of person that would dress and act a certain way just to match whoever he's hanging out with.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say shout out to the actor because I don't know if I like it. He does something very strange with his performance. Like he plays the character very odd, but maybe it's
He
just
plays him like he's high all the time, because he is.
he's just kind of oblivious and odd. I don't know. I mean, I guess. But to get back to your point though, yeah, I was saying the casting is weird. It's hard because like they have her being pretty much an outcast, right? But then they're also like, well, let's make her beautiful. So it's kind of like, because okay, so if I'm thinking how things would really be in my brain as watching the movie unfold. It's like you have to have Gavin talk down to her because what would make the most sense is that Gavin actually likes her and not the popular random blonde girl.
So
Because
you're telling
if
me,
you have a friend who's just as beautiful, but is more accessible and actually more like you, I feel like naturally you would emotionally connect with her more. But they need to save that for Steve, so they have to have Gavin her be more. Oh, that's like my little sister kind of thing. I get it.
so to be fair, how much you want to bet Gavin has tried shooting his shot with her?
Oh, 100%. Maybe that's true too. Maybe she has sort of.
She's already turned him down,
Yeah.
or because she sees him as just a brother. But
If so, then yeah, that makes sense because she's done a good job then of still keeping him around as, a brother type, I guess.
here's another fun character, somewhat, and that's the janitor.
I didn't like this character for some reason. I got to be honest.
How dare you? You didn't like the fact that he acts crazy, so no one knows he's smart.
Well, I didn't like the movie again. The other thing is, here's what's funny. I don't know. I don't know if you need the Steve character. Like all this stuff that Steve does, you could have just had Gavin do. Like for example, why does the janitor not just open up to Gavin? He waits until Steve comes, and then he trusts Steve, and he opens up to Steve and reveals everything. You could have just done that with
Because
Gavin weeks earlier. I don't understand the need to elevate Steve to where he's doing all this stuff. If you just start with Gavin starting to figure out the plot, basically, and have him, and you could still have Rachel be his friend and not whatever, but it's a much more interesting movie to see if you see him like stumbling upon all this and like kind of figuring it out as the movie goes, and him trying to take them down. Steve is just kind of he's kind of a generic good guy. I mean, I don't know. He's like there's nothing very
well,
interesting about him.
he has to be, because we also have a generic bad guy too.
Oh my god.
So
This is
I
like
just want to,
this is the most generic bad guy you could possibly have. Seriously.
but I do want to mention that all these kids are technically being turned into being good students. They're supposed to be they're supposed to be the model kid that any parent would want. So why in the fuckadilly are they so disrespectful to everybody?
There seems to be a big flaw in, I don't want to say the technology, but whatever brainwashing is happening in that, because at this meeting that we get a glimpse of the meeting of how things work, one of the parents are complaining and actually saying that, hey, the problem with my son is that he seems to be mean to everybody outside of the blue ribbons. So it's like, that's like a problem with the hardware, because like, yeah, if you want to make this work like across the country and spread it, you got to make the blue ribbons a little bit more like nicer to other people. Otherwise, people are going to get suspicious and be like, hey, why are they only nice to each other? And even if the kid stops being nice to his parents, every parent's going to complain and be like, hey, even though my kid is treating me like shit now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's not a plot flaw. It's a flaw. It's a flaw in the doctor's whole setup. The doctor's whole thing has a big issue there.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be fixed, but it seems like the doctor doesn't give a shit about trying to fix it in general. He
He
just,
dismisses it.
he
Yeah.
just it's just, and then I'm thinking, it's like, well, each person you put this implant in, you shouldn't be thinking the implant is perfect yet, especially if they, because if you get all of them to also be respectful to everybody, think about how many more of them would gladly join the Blue Ribbons just because they're very likable.
Right. And the whole point of that meeting, I thought, is for actually, he's getting good feedback from the parents. Like he's getting to find out, like, okay, so is this working? Is it not working? Like take their feedback. Don't just dismiss and be like, let me give them some BS. Like take it as like, hey, yeah, if I can make this better, I have a better chance of spreading this around. I can make this a bigger thing if I take the kinks out of it. But that's a huge thing. Yeah, we see basically the more normal the Blue Ribbons can act, the better off they are. The more weird they act, the more suspicious everybody's going to become of them. So they act very weird in this movie. They're like the way they talk, their speech patterns are weird. They don't talk like normal people. They can't
They
really
might as well.
they can't have a conversation even, it seems like. So,
They might as well just be people from the damn 50s at this point.
well, I don't want to disrespect people in the 50s, but
Well, look at it. All the guys are, their hair's all slicked back, done nice. They're wearing like pretty much sweater vests. They're the khaki pants, little dress shoes. Uh,
yeah.
and then the women are pretty much just there to be sex objects almost. Because notice how there is not a single woman that has that implant that doesn't act that doesn't sit there and try to be attractive instead of trying to be smart.
And that's weird because I thought it would have the opposite effect on them, right? It would make them more conservative and less likely to be how they are.
Especially since we see Andy apparently the thing malfunctions in Andy's head when he's having sex with the one girl and he breaks her neck, but yet the other girls are acting the exact same way. Would it be different because they already have the chip in them?
Well, to be fair though, the one blonde girl though, she does like she does bust her head against the windshield, so she kind of
And then tries to kill Steve.
she busts her hand. Yeah, she busts her head in the mirror, so she kind of malfunctions also at a certain point. Yeah, it's almost hard to believe they've made it this far. Like the fact that all the parents haven't already like figured this out and been like, hey, wait a minute. Did you, like, because I'm sure the parents interact with each other. At some point, they'd have a conversation of like, "Hey, is your son acting weird?" Like, "Yeah, my son's acting weird." Like, "Oh yeah, he got the blue ribbon training last week." Yeah, like it feels like the parents are made to be complete idiots in this movie, which I guess is okay for the plot. But I mean, if your child has a radical change in personality, I don't think you just go along for the ride and you're just like, well, at least they're getting good grades now. Like, I don't know. That seems like a lot.
Actually, I did find a plot hole. So, when Steve actually figures out that the janitor is actually a smart person, if I remember correctly, the janitor is an author. He has a book and everything, or he just likes to read, one of the two. But the plot hole I've noticed is when we're down there, we see Steve down there smoking, which means he had to have reached in the boiler to grab the cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And then later scene, this is of course after the cafeteria, this is after Gavin gets turned. But in the later scene, when Rachel goes in there, she sees a disc with her name on it. Are you telling me that Gavin, I guess, somehow got some lucidity in between Steve and Rachel to put that disc in there?
Apparently so. The whole night where Gavin gets turned is very interesting. So they go to this meeting. We get our first like kind of plot here. We find out about the blue ribbons. We find out what's going on. We find out that Gavin's parents have volunteered him for the program, which he probably
Those dicks.
Well, again, Gavin seems very smart. So my thing is, he probably should have saw that coming if he showed a picture where all his friends had been converted. So he's the only one in the picture who hasn't been converted. So he had already be thinking like, they're probably gonna target me, or he thought that his value was so low that they wouldn't bother trying to convert me. It's one of those two things. But I don't think he should be so surprised when he sees his parents volunteer him for the program. But what'd you think about, so one of the problems is like Steve just does not believe Gavin at all in this first half of the movie. Like he's not buying anything. Gavin's actually giving the exact plot. He's giving exactly what's happening. But Steve is just like, man, stay off the weed and, you're losing it, man. And all this leads to Gavin's downfall. But I don't think Steve is that likable in this first half in terms of like he's just not believing his friend. His friend's not making up a big conspiracy theory. He's actually seen proof. He saw the cop get shot. I mean, just your friend telling you that should be enough to be like, whoa, that's something extreme. But then he also Steve he sees what happens to Dickie. He sees Dickie have a complete personality change. Like that's evidence for you right in front of your eyes. But Steve is still like a skeptic. And I know they did this because basically Gavin turning is going to be the thing that actually makes him believe. But I feel bad for Gavin because if Steve would have actually believed him, they could have that night they could have came up with a plan together and avoided Gavin being turned. But instead, Steve takes away his gun and then leaves him there by himself to basically fend for himself. Shitty
So,
friend.
uh, as for the cop shooting, yes, Gavin saw that. But however, Steve didn't get there in time, so he would not. He doesn't know who that character is that died. So why would he even really care at that point? Another issue is: would you really believe someone that you know smokes weed, you know is high almost all the time, and then you see something that looks like it could just be some form of a program that could just be some form of therapy, not brainwashing, just some form of therapy, and all of a sudden your friend just pulls out a gun after you actually already offered him a way out of his own house by saying stay with me.
Oh, I agree. That was dumb on Gavin's part. He could have actually just went and stayed at Steve's house. I actually don't understand why he didn't take that up. He seemed committed
Yeah,
to killing them. So
because instead of showing Steve the gun when Steve said, hey, come stay with me, at least then you should feel more comfortable, you should feel safer. If I was Gavin, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Then he could have tried to either continue talking to Steve about it or come up with a plan to help himself out on his own.
well, showing Steve the gun was a bad move because Steve was not in a place mentally, as you said, to believe him yet. So him seeing the gun
Well,
and I'll just makes him think he's crazy. Then he's talking about, hey, he's gonna blow away all these people, which yeah, it sounds strange. But my pushback is that, from what you said, I do think Steve should have been suspicious because he interacted with the Blue Ribbons himself. He saw how weird they were. He saw Dickie have a complete transformation that just seemed very weird. And then again, Gavin showed him the pictures of, hey, this is what happened to my friends, so this is what they're gonna do to me. I do think Steve should have been a little more suspect than he was. He just went
um,
he went home and left his friend as if, hey, everything's gonna be okay. I'm just saying
well,
some of the liability is on Steve, is all I'm saying.
I will say this. There is one other reason why Steve pretty much abandoned him after seeing the gun, and that is a backstory. We find out of Steve that his older brother committed suicide.
Yeah.
So, of course, Steve is not going to want anyone with a gun around, especially if he cares for him, because even though he pretty much abandons Gavin at this point, he still, in a sense, cared about him and didn't want Gavin to do something that could potentially kill himself or kill others.
Yeah, good point. So I was gonna bring this up earlier. Basically the runtime of this movie is an hour and 24 minutes. This movie has a lot of plot, so it's a very, very short runtime for a movie that has this kind of plot. And you find out the original cut was actually close to 2 hours. But again, our good friend Mr. Test Screening was
No,
done,
fuck that.
and the studios decided to cut the movie down. They cut it down the first time. It was still pretty good, but then the second test screening, they then took the movie from the director to a point the director actually wanted to take his name off the movie, and they cut it down as much as possible. And we lost a lot of plot because there was a lot more background given on Steve and his brother. So you get a lot more of Steve's backstory. You get a lot more. You get a lot more with Gavin and Steve. So Gavin actually takes Steve to the morgue. So in terms of evidence, to convince him during that night, he takes him to the morgue to show him the girl's body, the one that got her neck snapped.
Yeah.
They go to the morgue and they actually find out her body's missing, which doesn't prove anything, but he's like, look, the body's missing. So Gavin went to greater lengths to convince Steve, but they cut the scene out. We also get afterwards, Steve goes to Gavin's house after he's been converted, and he speaks to his mom, and his mom basically is like, yes, Gavin's a good boy now. So we get like all these other scenes that I think would add more to the story, add more to the plot. There's more focus on Steve's background. We get more scenes with his little sister, and we get more scenes with him and Katie Holmes with Rachel. So
So
apparently the director feels like the original cut's like a really really good movie because it gives you enough story, enough character development to go with the plot. But he's not really happy with what they did to it.
So there's actually one thing I wish they would have done, and to be fair, I understand why they didn't, and they may have in the in the unedited cut, but the fact that there was a scene where Steve mentions that he's annoyed that him and his family is pretty much not allowed to talk about the brother. I feel like there should have been a conversation between him and the father to try and make some form of amends.
Yep.
At least before you find out that the father is now trying to get him converted to. Like a jackass.
Yeah.
What a jackass.
Oh, and so just to support what I'm saying here, the DVD has an unbelievable 11 deleted scenes on the DVD. 11 deleted scenes. So someone needs to make a new cut where they like reintegrate those deleted scenes back in the movie. And in fact, the movie has a whole different ending as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, because I have issues with the ending when we talk about that.
100%. I do like the.
How about?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you were about to say something because I was about to jump to the psychiatric scene.
Yeah, so basically, for me, once Gavin gets converted, and you have the scene in the cafeteria where Steve gets into kind of a fist fight with them with the blue ribbons, gets beat up.
Gets his ass handed to him.
Gavin kicks him.
He needs him.
Oh yeah, he needs him. So for me at this point, I'm not saying the movie goes downhill, but the second half is a big letdown compared to the setup in the first half. Because now we get a lot of stupid stuff, and we could talk about if you want to talk about the psychiatric scene, because
Yeah, but only because
this was stupid, so. But
well, we only need to talk about it for one quick second because it does give us pretty much our main antagonist because of something that's happened. He find out that his daughter's in the psychiatric hospital, and I'm assuming that's because he tried to give her an implant and it did not take.
Yep.
So.
Well, we know,
and we
know the implant and everything the guy's doing is definitely flawed so far, right? So.
Yeah, but apparently this was like the very first implant he made. He put it in and it caused her to go flipping insane. But the real question I got is, why did they even think about just going through there? I mean, I feel like the psychiatric scene makes no real point to the plot. It's not like it did anything against the doctor. All we find out is he implanted his daughter.
There's no follow-up to it. That's a problem. There's no follow-up to it. The movie needs to explore, like I said, the plot is too big for the runtime we're getting. You can't fit this movie into an hour and a half plot because there's so much more we need to know. We need to know the why, the how, the what. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of like slightly mentioned, but not enough to actually make sense. It's like the movie has big ideas, but it doesn't execute on its big ideas.
Yeah, like because Steve mentions his daughter to the doctor, and the doctor tells him, "Well, she wasn't that bright anyway." It's like, damn, you didn't love your daughter.
Well,
you deserve to get punched in the nuts.
Well, this bad guy is like,
he's generic.
He's generic bad guy, and you never really know what the hell what's the point of anything he's doing, and what does he actually want here? And again, if he doesn't want to expand this, then he really should like get the kinks out and stop just like dismissing everything and just being generic bad guy. He should be like, hey, let me try to make this the best product possible. But instead,
yeah, like get the kink out of murderous rampage.
He's taking shortcuts, yeah. So the janitor guy, which you like, I mean, for me, he plays a little bit too big of a part in the ending. A lot of the heroes. The heroes really only get away because of this janitor guy.
Well, to be fair, this janitor is the only one that actually put two and two together of what happened with Chuck. That's another thing we actually probably should mention is the implants, when a certain frequency hits, the implants start going haywire and makes everyone go fucking insane.
Yes. Yeah.
And the janitor was the only one who actually paid attention to that because the only other one in there at the time was Rachel, and she just wanted to get the hell out of there before something bad happened to her.
Right. True. And what what never mind, I'll come back to that. But no, but anyways, yeah, we'll move on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we can just talk about the ending then. I mean,
Okay, so the ending is the janitor plays that frequency, drives off the cliff, killing everybody,
so that
and
like,
then we get a.
as stupid as it is, it's a really dumb but fun visual to see all the kids on the truck as it flies off the cliff. That's so over the top that none of them thought to jump off before going off the cliff. But okay, all right.
Oh, so I just want to mention, look at James Marsden. Pretty decent sized dude. He looked big, stocky, probably lifts weights on his off time. Now look at the doctor. Lanky, most likely never been in fighting his whole life. Decides to has a fist fight together.
This is like if Van Damme was actually fighting Lance Henriksen at the end of Hard Target. This is why
This man-
this is why they didn't do that, because this doesn't really make sense that this doctor does not want to get his hands dirty in an actual fight. He's not that guy. This is so
And he had a gun. What happened to the gun? I know he got hit by a car, but what happened to the gun he still had his hand when he got hit by the car?
I don't know. It didn't make any sense
Tell-
to me.
I'm just sitting there watching. I was like, really? And the fact that they actually make it to where the doctor almost pushes him off the cliff. I'm like, no. By the time that doctor swung, he may have gotten one hit, but I feel like Steve should have grabbed his second hit and thrown him off the damn cliff right then and there.
I don't see the doctor hanging around, especially once he knows that his creation has gone off the cliff. I see him just disappearing pretty much. It didn't make sense.
Disappearing, just like our main characters. Because now, I mean, I'm sorry. Is there a reason why these characters have to leave town?
What about his
They
parents?
just got rid. They just got rid of. Well, he told his parents where they're going, but he
Yeah,
just got
but-
rid of all of the villains. He got rid of all the blue ribbons minus one. He got rid of the doctor, so there's no more implants going into people.
Yeah.
So what was the point of them leaving to go be homeless in Chicago?
Yeah, so basically...
Was this supposed to be a happy ending?
Well, you're right. Once you solve the problem, does leaving town make any sense when you can just stay and rebuild yourself in Cradle Bay? I mean, you have a family there. You have a house there. I mean, I don't understand what's going on. The leaving on a boat ending didn't really make that much sense, especially for...
They're going to be homeless.
Especially for, I feel like, for Rachel and UV, because I understand that Steve and his sister maybe feel a certain way, but if I'm Rachel, I'm like, unless I'm marrying this guy, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what am I?
They got married.
I'm in high school. They're in high school, so it's like I don't understand.
They're homeless now. They can get married.
Yeah, this ending didn't hit for me, but there's one big obvious problem with this ending, which they try to rectify at the very end. But
Gavin.
the lack of Gavin, where the hell was he in this ending? Because
He was getting his teacher's degree.
That makes no sense. Because I know Gavin's smart, but you're gonna tell me that Gavin's so smart that even when converted into that, he knows enough to stay. Like, he just stayed away from the whole ending. He was like, "Well, I know how that's gonna go. I'm gonna go get my teacher license and start over in a new town."
So with Gavin, I actually feel like the implant either didn't take or maybe took too much, because I feel like Gavin may have actually kept a former bit of himself, as I mentioned with the damn CD. That appeared between after he's already been converted and between one scene to another.
Yeah.
So either there's a plot hole there, and Steve didn't notice that, because I'm sure Steve would have opened it, saw Rachel's name, or he actually still has a bit of himself still in there to the point where he can somewhat have a little bit of control over himself.
Well, why I don't buy that is because I just don't see Gavin becoming a teacher, so that wouldn't make sense to me. But if that was the case, but the problem is okay. Here's the thing: the movie missed an obvious opportunity here, which was once you converted Gavin to the other side,
Have Gavin and Steve fight.
I know you have generic bad guy, but clearly the emotional point now is to have Gavin be the villain. and Steve has to kill him, not generic bad guy, which he has no problem killing. So
Yeah, Steve didn't
there,
give two shits about Gavin.
he did. I mean, in the cafeteria, he did because he tried to whatever. But then they all kind of just give up and move on from Gavin, and Gavin just disappears from the movie. And in the first half of the movie, I would argue that he's the main character in the first half of the movie. So it makes no sense that there's no payoff to that. Now, what happened was, though, again, credit to the director. What we find out essentially is that there's an entire opposite ending, alternate ending, which is exactly what I wanted, which is they go the boat after everything, and then Gavin confronts them on the boat, and then I believe UV actually has to shoot Gavin. Now, so I would encourage you to watch this on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube, but it's a much more logical payoff. They go the boat, and Gavin's there, and he's like, whatever, and they have to kill him is the last thing in the movie. That makes way more sense, but for some reason, the studio didn't like that ending and gave us this generic ending with they had to go back and refilm the whole teacher thing at the end. That was that was not in the script. That was like, whoa, let's plug Gavin in somewhere at the end. Oh, let's have him be a teacher and set up a sequel.
Just in case they decide to make a sequel, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody was going to want to see a sequel on this. I'm sorry, especially with Gavin as a teacher. So
Gavin's making the implants.
all that to say, from what I'm gathering as we review it, it's like, and what I've read is that the original cut of the movie is like significantly better than what we got, again, because of studio interference. But
The original cut for almost every movie is better. Look at Scream 4. The ending to that,
oh my
to
god,
the original ending of Scream 4 was better than what the fuck we got. And I didn't like Scream 4.
I do like Scream 4, but I would have liked it a lot more with the ending that we were supposed to get, 100%. So all that to say, if we can find a way to watch the original version, or at least watch all the deleted scenes and cut that back in, I think it's a much better movie. Because it feels like there's a really good movie in here, like potentially. Like they have good actors, they have a good story, but they don't execute. Like I said, that's a very lame ending, and yeah. So, anyways,
Categories.
okay.
S-
So okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Best performance.
We'll probably both agree that for me it's Gavin, Nick Stahl. I think he really does give Gavin a lot of specific like ticks in the first half. The way Gavin talks, it's like a really defined personality, I would say. Like he does seem like a drug user for sure. He does seem like a crackhead a little bit. But he has a very specific sense of humor that shows in every scene with the stuff he says. And you also buy his paranoia too. He really sells the paranoia, and and basically he's our audience view of like what's going on essentially, and happens all the time, especially in horror movies where you have to like do something where you have to do have a different second half of the movie because you have to kill somebody off, or in a way basically he does get killed off halfway through, like his personality gets killed off, which is basically him getting killed off. So, and then the second half suffers. So,
Oh, right. Well, since you already mentioned our best performance, worst performance.
I want to say UV, but but
Why?
I just
He-
I thought
He had a.
I thought he slanted more towards like just annoying and there's no purpose to you versus like anything standing out.
Honestly, I'm giving it to the doctor because he's so generic bad guy. Didn't give a shit about his daughter. Probably didn't give a shit about his wife, and didn't even bother wanting to perfect his own creation. That makes for a terrible villain in a movie. If maybe he was constantly doing something to make the implant better each and every time, then maybe he would be a better villain. But in this case, he's just like, nope, it's perfect, but people are killing each other. Nope, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean
Fuck you.
the actor did okay, but again, they wrote a very generic bad guy, and he fills that role. So, but nothing wrong.
Not to mention that character, I don't believe that character would have fought Steve. I feel like that character would have shot Steve because he still had a gun somewhere.
True.
Performance wise, the movie was good when it comes to performance. All the actors did their job.
But the way we talk about it, we're better off doing best character and worst character, because
Fair.
in that you can still like give credit to the performance. But if we do best performance, then we focus on the character and ignore the performance completely. But so we'll
Fair.
shift that story next episode.
Sounds good. Best scene.
I
This is a hard one. No scene really stands out to me.
I liked I know this is like just a dumb scene, really, because it has no real purpose. But I like the scene of just Gavin explaining the entire thing in the cafeteria, all the different groups and their drug of choice. That felt like in another world, this could have been some offbeat like teen comedy or teen drama.
Or it could have turned into a turf war.
Yeah, yeah.
But not.
That or I was gonna I like the scene where even though he's done for pulling out the gun, I like that scene where him and Steve are talking about the whole thing, and Steve leaves him high and dry. But you're right. It's not really an action movie. There's really nothing that stands out in terms of like scenes, I would say.
Not even if it wasn't an action movie. I mean, there's nothing. Even dramas have scenes that stand out. Comedies have scenes that stand out. This one, to be honest with you, the best scene I can think of would be the scene on the beach between Gavin and Steve. But as you brought up, Steve's not really all that likable because he's not. Even though he wants to be a friend, but at the same time, he's still being, with some of the evidence coming up, he's still being very dismissive.
Yeah, I know, and he's more likable in the second half of the movie. But the problem is, in the second half of the movie, he has no choice. He's just forced in the situation. So it's
And Gavin's not there, so.
yeah. So but the first half of the movie, he's just like a little bit too dismissive of everything for me to believe it. They're all too dismissive, honestly. Even UV is a little bit dismissive of Gavin, and UV doesn't.
Here's
seem
a
to,
question.
UV doesn't seem to care that much when his best friend is gone. So, what the hell?
Well, that's because he's high all the time.
Suppressing his.
But here's a question. Here's a big question for you. Didn't you, for some reason, I feel like they got Eggy from the Kingsman movies. I feel like they got his look from the way Gavin looked at the very end of this because they looked almost identical.
Hmm.
Have you seen the Kingsman movies?
No.
Well, the
No, I have no idea at all. Actually.
worst scene is the fight scene at the cliff.
I was gonna say the car driving off the cliff with all the teens. Like it looked
I'm
like
fine with that.
it looked like they were CGI'd onto the truck.
They were.
Oh my.
They were. No, I was still fine with that because that got rid of the majority of the issue of the town. But what I don't like is again a doctor going at him hand to hand when he had a gun. I know our main character has to survive, even though he's going to be homeless and get a disease and die there. But fuck you. Don't give me a fight scene when the character is not a fighter.
Yeah.
Unless he has no choice. And he had a choice. He could have left.
Yeah, that's true.
Hell, Steve was leaving. He wasn't about to continue the fight.
The ending should have been the doctor on the boat. and he's going to another town. He's thinking like, hey, I can start over. It's like,
But there you go. You got our change of conditions.
yeah, there we go. I mean, come on. Well, no, the biggest change for me is basically just literally
Have Gavin the main character.
no, but just go back to the original ending. Like, just have Gavin more involved in the ending. Like, having him basically absent from the second half of the movie was just a really bad decision. I don't think they understood that he's almost like our viewpoint character in the first half, because the movie starts with him basically.
And then
Yeah.
could have been the main villain when he got implanted.
Yeah, instead he just basically cut him out the movie, and then we get this like really nothing teacher scene, which again makes no sense. Why would he be? First of all, how does he have the resources to continue the operation? Like, I don't understand who gave him license to like continue on. So
It's the implant.
working
I swear,
very- working well
I
apparently.
think maybe the doctor, it could have just been, behind the scenes, or it could have been a deleted scene. But for all we know, the doctor probably could have been actually perfecting the implant because I feel like Gavin was acting differently compared to the rest when you go through the background stuff, even though he wasn't actually there. Like, why wasn't he at the climax? Why didn't he fall off with everyone else?
Well, that part just makes no sense to me. Like, yeah, like even the doctor's there. So the doctor's there, all the kids are there. It's like, what in the world? Like, and wouldn't they notice he's not there? And they all be like, "Hey, where's Gavin at?" Like, and the characters, Steve and all them, they don't even mention it. Wouldn't they be like, "Hey, I saw all the kids here, but what happened to Gavin?" Like, none of it. Like, he's so absent from the end. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like from the first half of the movie to the second half, that makes no sense. That nobody would like ask about him or think about him or anything. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, well, final thoughts, sir.
I'm conflicted because even
You
as
chose the movie.
no, I actually think I think the movie is still entertaining and I like the movie. The problem is it could have been so much better, and it seems like a lot of the original cut like fixes the problems that I have with the movie. So it's almost like I have to give this a bad review and then find a version with the deleted scenes entered in and then kind of re-evaluate it based on with the stuff in there. So I'm conflicted because I feel like there's a good movie here, and if it's a bad movie, it seems a bad movie because the studios. The studio, unlike like Hard Target, they did a lot with that, but what they left was still a pretty good movie. With this one, they stripped down a lot of it. So overall, though, I would say the plot is very interesting. I love the idea of the story. I wish the execution was better, and also I like the characters for the most part. James Marsden aside, he's kind of generic good guy. I do like Rachel. I like Gavin. I like. I think the Blue Ribbons characters are good for what they do for the most part. Doctor aside, who's just blah. And Catherine Isabel is always good in everything I've seen her in. So, um, you know,
Shame she wasn't in much of this movie.
yeah, she was younger though. Like this is like before
Ginger
pre.
Snaps, I believe.
Yeah, it is, and definitely way before Freddie vs. Jason. Um, so man, I'm gonna go 2 stars. I still think it's like watchable for sure, and I have a pretty nostalgic, I think, view on it because I watched it back when I was like a teen. So I'm gonna give it 2 stars, but I feel honestly like this could have been 3 stars if they fixed certain things, and maybe the original cut is like 3 stars, but how it's presented, 2 stars. One thing that annoyed me, I almost want to take off another half a star because the score is so annoying. Did you hear the score where it has like it's like dun, no, there's a dung dung.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
The Law and Order theme.
what the hell? Who thought that was good? I mean, the movie has a good soundtrack. There's good songs in the movie, but the score is like mind-numbingly annoying, I would say. So I'm almost gonna take off half a star for that, but I'm gonna still keep it 2 stars. But that score is enough to drive the man insane. So, but I'm gonna stick with my 2 stars.
Well, I guess it's my turn. And
Well, that or Jeremy, whoever
I,
wants to go first.
okay, let me go ahead and get the voice.
No, I'm just playing.
No,
There's no reason for Jeremy to appear here. So,
not yet. Anyway. Anyway, so I just got to say the movie is fun for what we get. The whole ending gives you a bunch of plot holes, though. It gives you a bunch of stuff that is not needed, and gives you and really doesn't give us an answer to our mystery. Like, how did the doctor think up an idea to make this implant? What kind of? I know they said he was like as a brain doctor, pretty much. What gave him the idea to finally decide to make this implant? How did he come across the technology to make this kind of implant? There's plot holes, and then there's mysteries not answered. There's the first half of it. I like the characters, especially Gavin. Gavin was a fun character. UV, even though Vic didn't like him, was a decently fun character for the small scenes he was in. Rachel, I'm sorry, Rachel was kind of a generic beautiful girl, and Steve, generic good guy. Doctor became a generic bad guy,
true.
and overall, fuck. What did I? Do you remember what I gave the faculty? I think that was 2.5.
I think you might have went. I think we both might have went 3 on faculty. Honestly,
Either way, this definitely is not getting anywhere near faculty. feel I don't know which one came out first, but this feels like a Faculty ripoff with less alien, more sci-fi, and sci-fi that doesn't even work at the end of the day.
They're
The
both
CGI at the very end was bad.
they're both 98. I just don't know which one was
First.
previous.
Yeah, but the CGI was bad. That could be equated to the fact that CGI wasn't still that good back then. Uh, ooh, I actually there's actually a lot of negatives I have on this one. Overall, I'm actually going to give it the same as Vic. I'm giving it a 2. It's still a fun watch, but I feel like this is the one of those movies where I would agree that it needs to be longer. So there's movies that don't need to be long. This one does. This one should probably be a good 30 minutes.
Well, basically, the more generic the plot line, and the less you need. You can go with a small runtime. If you have like a slasher, which is the guy with a knife, then yeah, you probably need like an hour and a half. But if you're talking about like an occult and like a doctor
Or sci-fi.
doing experimentations like that, it's almost never going to work out well like with an hour 25-minute runtime for that kind of story. So
Yeah, well, everyone, as you know, you don't have to go home. You got to get out of here. Get me some chicken nuggets, please. Or wings. I haven't had a good Hooters wings in a while. Go to Hooters, get me some wings, bring them to Wyoming for me.
Oh my
Thank you very
God.
much.
all right, well look, Nick is asking way too much of our audience. All right, he wants you to get the wings, not enjoy them for yourself, but bring him wings in Wyoming. Sir,
Yes.
you can get Uber Eats on your phone and get them wings, all right?
The only thing that Uber Eats does here is McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and Burger King.
Oh, that's sad. That's very sad.
Yeah. And that's bad because there's actually some good restaurants here too. I wish Shogun's Pizzeria actually sends me something, but they don't deliver.
Well, listen, I'm sorry, that's the ramifications of you deciding to spread your Blue Ribbon Mountain Dew craze over the world. So that's what you
Purple Dew, sir.
that's what you get,
Purple Dew.
that's what you get for spreading the purple dew. I'm going to be more fan friendly and say for the audience, get those wings, but eat them for yourself and don't think about Nick. He can get his own food.
No, no, no. You must love me. I can and will turn my voice into God mode if you don't love me.
Just creepy enough to be edited out. Thank you so much. So.